What's going on, everybody? It's Ted again here with countdowntothegeeks.com. We got another fantastic interview for you guys. Director of the fantastic mystery thriller Lifeline. It's Feras Alfuqaha. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. This was a wonderful experience. It was gripping at times and so unique because it deals with a lot of very personable themes as well as issues that I think a lot of individuals may or may not be dealing with today. I mean, it speaks about mental health, it speaks about trauma, especially at a young age, and it really asks individuals to sort of really put a value on life. And those are all very important questions and very unique themes that this film covers in a variety of ways. Tell us how you got involved with the project Lifeline.
Great. First of all, thank you for having me. Finding the script was a long journey. Over the years, just like through working like with different like productions and films, I was just looking for the right script for me. And I read more than 1,000 treatments and more than 100 scripts to find Lifeline. Because, for me, it was a story that has an entertaining, as you mentioned, like a thrilling element that like draws you in. Okay, like you want to figure out what's happening, what's next, why is this happening now at this point with this specific character. So this is the intriguing, entertaining part. But I always look for the depth in the story. Okay, what are we trying to say? What's the message? And I think that combination, and you referred already to some of the issues we're like kind of touching on. I think that combination between the entertaining, uh, thrilling part and the depth is like what really like made it interesting to me. And I look, this is something I want to work on, and then spend that time work with the writers and everyone else on the script.
The movie is Lifeline. It is out in select theaters and on digital platforms starting tomorrow, Friday, February 21st, such as Apple TV. And you have a fantastic lead, Josh Stewart, whose face is ingrained in my mind because he was one of the henchmen in one of my favorite comic book movies, The Dark Knight Rises. And he just has like one or two scenes that just really stand out in that movie. Talk to us about what the experience like was having Josh as your lead and working with him.
Yeah, what you just said is exactly the reason. Like, I really believe that he can do it. Is like you see him for like a few minutes, and he just like he owns the screen, he owns the
Oh,
scene,
yep.
and like obviously, Lifeline being primarily in one location, relying most of the time on like one character. I needed to have like an actor with that caliber who's able to like carry the film and the story and still keep you engaged as a viewer for the entire movie. And I think that just speaks to his talent, honestly. Um, working with him was like very smooth. I think in pre-production we had a few discussions, just talking about the story and the script and character, just to make sure that we're on the same page. And I think those discussions allowed us to be like really in sync. By the time we got to set, we were like kind of on like everything was clear. Um, Honestly, his ability to like I mentioned that previously, like his ability to get into character and being like really in the zone in the character on cue when I say action and he's like just gets into it is incredible. Um, I remember like every like at the beginning of every day, every shooting day, I would come and then he's always there like early, prepared with all his lines. Like we shot, the fact that he has a lot of lines every day, and he was always ready on time, memorized like everything. So then we would have discussions about the scenes of that day, and I think those discussions just made it very easy. Like even like notes between takes, they were very minimal, and I think yeah, working with him, even with those notes, sometimes one note would change the entire performance. And like, I think on day two and three, after people like really saw what he's doing, people realize, okay, like there's something special here.
Yeah, he's so wonderful in this. And as you mentioned, the movie takes place in mostly one location and revolves around his character. So he's
Hmm.
doing all the heavy lifting. He's asked to do a lot,
Exactly.
and his emotional range in this movie is extraordinary, and he just pulls it off wonderfully. I
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to keep a lot of details out of this conversation because I
Yeah.
feel like it's best to sort of go into this with very little information. Don't watch any trailers
Yes.
because I feel like the best experience is just to go in blind and just kind of go on the roller coaster ride because it goes
I
into
agree.
places you will not expect or anticipate.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. But I will
Thank you.
say his character is a lifeline operator, which I guess makes sense that there are these professions out there and there's a lot of them, but what a challenging job to have. You could potentially be the difference in saving someone's life who may or may not be suicidal, who may or may not have um, mental issues that they might be experiencing or going through at the time. It's got to be extremely difficult, and yet you convey the challenges and the difficulty of that profession so well. And what was it about that profession and the research that you did to make sure you conveyed the gravity of what they may or may not experience?
So, uh, um, I think uh, the talk about depression and suicide, like I think especially after COVID, it just like became more obvious, or maybe people are more open to it.
Right.
And even like when I read the script and I started working with like writers, Brian and Brady, Brady also has a background in psychology, so that added a layer of like also depth in writing those scenes to make sure, okay, can we say this? Is it fine for our operator to say that? And it took a bit of research also just to make sure that everything is like accurate to our best ability. Even some of the research, one of my friends is a police dispatcher. So I
Mm.
just had a phone call with her. I was like, okay, like, what do you do if someone tells you this and that, and how just to get the sense of what she deals with on a daily basis, and to try to convey that, whether it's the urgency or like the sensitive information, and so on. But I mean, just going on what you mentioned about this the sensitivity of the subject matter. Like I believe I read something I think during COVID or right after, saying that even the idea that, I mean, someone could say, I understand why someone would consider suicide. The fact that you understand that in itself is they consider it as a suicidal thought. That this is like, okay, like there's a danger here, like so like it has a lot of layers that we had to really like to dig into and make sure that we're conveying something, and just be truthful to the also um the situation itself too.
I will not give away any details, but I will say this film does a great job of crossing over into potentially some other genres. It kind of has the elements of like a sci-fi film at times, some elements of like a fantasy at times, and it never really falls too far into one genre. And so it's beautifully executed how you and the rest of the team pulled that off. I will
Thank
ask
you.
you, um,
Yes.
what is it that you would like for individuals to take away from this movie? And we've already talked about the heavy themes,
Yeah.
the topics that it's sort of covering. But
Mhm.
what are some of the aspects of the film that you hope folks can take away from this?
Yeah. Without giving away the details
Exactly.
of the story, I would say like two things. Like obviously, I want everyone watching the film to be entertained, like to have a good time watching a film and going through the story and the journey of this character. Simultaneously, I would love, and I hope that what happens to everyone at by the end of the film is like they reflect on these issues and subjects that we like raise in the film. I think that's I would be happy, and I've done my job if I succeed with that. If people like really enjoyed the 80 minutes, an hour, and 20 minutes of watching this, after they finish, after they get out of the theater or they turn off the TV, they're still thinking about, okay, like, okay, why this happened, why, and the interaction between the characters. Um, even I mean when we did like some test screenings during post production, like I had this reaction from some people, some viewers were like, after a day or two, they would reach out to me and I'm still thinking about this specific thing in the film, and
Wow.
I feel like that's what I would like audience to be like to leave with. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And as a creator, as a filmmaker, I'm sure that's sort of the things that are give you a lasting impression is those sort of um occurrences and those conversations with audience members. Yeah. So that must be a wonderful
exactly.
feeling to have.
It is. Also, it is. Yeah.
Well, the movie is called Lifeline. It is out in select theaters and on digital platforms starting tomorrow, Friday, February 21st. Find it on Apple TV if you have it. And I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds right now. Sell to the audience. Why should they go watch Lifeline? Go.
Why. If you want to have a good time, enjoy the movie, be entertained, um, being invested in the story, trying to figure out what's happening, but at the same time, watch something that touches your heart and like maybe even um, push you to think about a very tough subject matters. I think you should watch Lifeline. Well, you'll have a good time and hopefully an intellectual discussion and reflections afterward.
And you're going to want to see Josh Stewart on in this movie because he's absolutely fantastic in it.
Exactly.
Ferris, thanks again for taking the time to speak with me today. Congrats again on the movie.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.